Yuji, overshadowed by his incredibly talented sister Kazuki, grew up facing neglect and ridicule from his parents. Kazuki, in contrast, earned the family's admiration and wealth with her prodigious artistic abilities. However, she deeply cared for Yuji, being his sole source of comfort and encouragement. After a tragic event, Yuji became an orphan and was shaped into an elite soldier by dark forces, facing a tough path. His journey, however, was one of the coldest anyone has ever had to witness. Despite his family's continuous disdain, particularly from their father, Kazuki always saw potential in Yuji. A mysterious man enters their lives at one point, offering Yuji a piece of chocolate. As years go by, Kazuki decides to suppress her talent, opting instead to bond with Yuji over simpler joys like reading manga. Yet, Yuji's family's maltreatment intensifies, often leaving him hungry and neglected. Kazuki tries to intervene, but her efforts are in vain. However, tragedy struck when their home became the site of a deadly bus crash, leaving only one survivor, a red-haired girl. This incident sends their father into a spiral of depression and alcoholism. Concerned for their safety, Yuji and his mother flee their home, attempting to build a peaceful life away from the father's tyranny. For a while, they find solace and happiness. However, their past catches up when their father tracks them down a year later. In a violent confrontation, Yuji decides to defend his mother and himself against his father's aggression. Their twisted familial bond further complicates as emotions and actions culminate in a climactic showdown. After a traumatic event involving his parents, Yuji is urged by his mother to flee, giving him all her savings and directing him to a train station. Despite her promises, she doesn't follow, and upon his return home after hearing ambulance sirens, he finds his father injured and realizes he's lost his mother forever. He wakes up in a hospital only to receive a remorseful note from his mother. Left an orphan, Yuji falls under the guardianship of a man named Rei, who mistreats him and forces him into intense combat training in a facility. There, he's constantly bullied, save for the kindness of a girl named Marlene. Under Rei, now called Oslo, Yuji is brainwashed into believing that everyone, including his family, is his enemy. His ultimate test is a combat face-off against Marlene. Memories of his family trauma resurface during the fight, leading to his defeat by Marlene. Despite their past bond, Marlene departs the facility after her graduation, and Yuji learns of her unfortunate demise on her first mission, leaving him to grapple with grief and guilt. Post-graduation, Yuji becomes a successful assassin, infiltrating targets disguised as a maid. However, one day, law enforcement raids Oslo's base, and although Oslo escapes, they discover Yuji, a tormented child with white hair. Asako, intrigued by Yuji, takes him to Japan with JB overseeing them. In hospital, despite JB's plea for compassion, Asako treats Yuji harshly, later revealing her intentions are to break his past conditioning. Asako's home, Yuji's scarred and malnourished body shocks them. A traumatic incident involving a fly showcases Yuji's damaged psyche. Over time, Asako and JB nurture Yuji, introducing normalcy into his life. He gets a puppy named John Doe. Asako later quits her job at the intelligence agency, revealing her deteriorating health. She and Yuji bond, with him addressing her as master due to her mentorship. She trains him in sniping, gifting him a rifle. Although he becomes adept, he hesitates to kill a deer, showing signs of emotional recovery. Yuji wakes up to his dog, John, barking and discovers a bear has broken into their home. In a panic, he grabs his gun to save John, but is unable to shoot the bear. Overcome with determination to save his dog, he confronts the bear but slips on the snow, causing his gun to clog. Yuji then tries to defend himself with a knife, but the bear knocks it away. In a desperate move, Yuji blinds the bear with a stick and finally gets his gun working. However, he notices bear cubs approaching his dog and is faced with a moral dilemma. Struggling with the situation, Yuji ultimately can't bring himself to kill the bear. He returns to his friend Asako with John's collar. Asako comforts him, saying that it's okay. They bury John's collar together at sunset. Asako encourages Yuji, telling him his life has meaning and he should protect others, even if he can't pull the trigger for himself. Years later, Asako tells JB that Yuji has completed his plot development. She explains how Yuji had a significant moment with her on his birthday, which marked a turning point in his life. This conversation leads to a disagreement between Asako and JB about the appropriateness of Asako's actions. Several years have passed and Asako's health is deteriorating. Yuji notices her declining health, but Asako tries to hide it from him. She's unable to respond to a mission call, and Yuji starts taking on her jobs in her absence. JB confronts Asako for letting Yuji take on her jobs, but Yuji insists that it's his choice because he wants to repay his debt to Asako. Asako reveals that Yuji will be going to America to attend military school. In America, Yuji encounters a soldier named Danny Boner, and they start training together. Danny teases Yuji about his appearance, but eventually warms up to him. During training, Yuji excels in sniping, impressing their commander. Yuji meets a fellow sniper, Mealy, who comes to talk to him. They bond over marksmanship, and Yuji learns to trust her. Yuji's training is complete, and he's sent overseas for his final exam. On the ship, Danny teases him about his watch and makes inappropriate comments. They also encounter a weirdo playing a dating simulator. Yuji's squadron consists of individuals with troubled backgrounds, including a former car thief, a girl with a difficult past, an anime otaku, and a sniper who struggles to kill. They are considered one of the least capable groups in the army. During a battle in a forest, Yuji struggles with killing for the first time. His commander encourages him to see his fellow soldiers as family and gives him permission to kill the enemy to protect them. Yuji overcomes his hesitation and successfully eliminates the enemy. However, he eventually falls unconscious. Yuji continues his military service and forms strong bonds with his fellow soldiers, especially Mealy. He overcomes his initial hesitations about killing in combat and becomes more resolved. However, Danny starts losing sight of the war's purpose. After his deployment ends, Yuji returns home. Mealy expresses her hope that Yuji finds happiness. A few months later, he receives a call from JB, informing him that Asako has collapsed due to a chronic condition resulting from injuries sustained during her deployments. Yuji rushes home to Asako and learns that her condition is terminal. They have a heartfelt conversation, and Asako encourages Yuji to live for himself and become the man she always wanted him to be. Asako passes away peacefully, leaving Yuji devastated. In the aftermath, Yuji mourns Asako's death but is determined to fulfill his promise to save 5 people. He carries on with a sense of purpose, keeping Asako's memory alive in his heart. JB offers him a place to stay, but their attempts to support each other emotionally fall short. They begin to drift apart, and Yuji contemplates going on a journey. Yuji sets out on a motorcycle journey, meeting various people and experiencing different aspects of life. However, his bike breaks down, and he meets a man who reflects on the value of youth, which makes Yuji reconsider his choices. Ultimately, Yuji decides to return home, feeling that he has learned something important about himself during his journey. He contemplates going back to school and trying to experience the vibrancy of youth once more. However, just as he's about to embark on this new path, he receives a mission from the military that he cannot refuse. Yuji prepares to complete the mission, feeling a sense of dread and realizing it's a worst-case scenario.